Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we're taking a look at a new monitor from the people over at IIYAMA. This is the G-master Black Hawk G2755HSU-B1. A very long name, but a very good monitor. Now this is a 27-inch monitor, if you haven't already guessed, hence the G27 name. But this is doing something a little bit different, which is something which I've been waiting for quite a long time on the monitor market. Now this is a good quality panel at a reasonable price, but without all the unnecessary fluff, but with a high refresh rate, but not an overly high refresh rate. Now, if you are a somewhat budget gamer, the chance of you getting over 100 frames per second in your games is somewhat rare, and depending what game it is, some of the new AAA titles are very hard to run. So there isn't really any necessary need for 144 Hz, 240, whatever it might be. I think personally the sweet spot for most gaming is around about 100 frames per second. For me, that works very well. 60 is kind of the minimum, but 100 I think is really, really nice. So that is where IIYAMA have come with this. They're trying to kind of establish a new standard in the monitor market. So this is actually a 100 Hz panel. Now it still supports things like AMD Freesync and has got all those kind of usual features such as anti-tearing and all that kind of good stuff, but it does it at a particularly low price. The only thing is, unfortunately, because IIYAMA monitors are generally very good options anyway, there's a lot of competition around this particular price point, of which this comes in at somewhere around the £100 mark. So depending what you need, then you may find actually one of the faster 24-inch models, such as the one which is actually playing on this video here, might actually be preferable. But if you want a little bit of extra desktop real estate with a 27-inch rather than a 24, you get basically the same kind of thing, just slightly lower FPS. So today's video, really we're going to be talking about what this is all about, take a look at the packaging, how it all goes together, and give you some thoughts, or at least my personal feelings on this monitor, and how I would personally like to see the monitor market progress. So looking first of all at the box, you can see this is the usual IIYAMA type deal. So it's got all the specifications there. It is clearly posted 100 Hz. It has a 1 millisecond response time, which is the MPRT, and also supports anywhere between 30 and 110 Hz. As it says there, you've got adaptive sync, the 100 Hz refresh rate, and this is full HD 1080p. This monitor also supports HDMI and DisplayPort, so that's HDMI 1.4 and DisplayPort 1.2. There's also an integrated USB hub. You can also plug in headphones should you wish to, and there's also some 2-watt speakers built in, and it fully supports the VESA 100 format for wall mounting or desk mounting should you wish to. Another nice key feature of this, because it is somewhat restricted to 100 Hz, although you can run your games at a higher frames per second should you wish to, but at 100 Hz, if you turn on VSync, you'll find that this monitor is actually very efficient in use and comes with the E-class rating. This you may think is not brilliant, but it's certainly better than a lot of other monitors on the market. They do say that this monitor potentially can be run at somewhere around about 21 watts, which is extremely low, and in standby power you're using just half a watt, and when the unit is completely off but still connected to the wall, about 0.3 watts of vampire power. Now the screen itself is a VA type panel and also has a nice matte coating on there, so in terms of reflections and things like that, it actually copes very well. Even with the harsh studio lighting we've got on here, there's a very small hotspot somewhere around this top area, and you're possibly seeing it in some of the B-roll. Also, something else I should note as well, because of the way that our camera works, it doesn't get rid of some of that moire effect. So some of the moire effect you'll see on screen isn't present in real life. I just wanted to point out in case you're wondering. So taking a look at the connectivity on the back there, you've got two USB 2.0s, you've got a single HDMI 1.4 and a single DisplayPort 1.2. There's also the headphone output, speaker output. There's also the power input, the headphone input, and also there's a Kensington lock should you wish to attach it to a desk. Now when it comes to the stand, this is one of the things which I think somewhat lets it down, although realistically with stands they're very easy to replace. You can pick up an extremely cheap monitor arm on Amazon, place like that, for very little money, should this not be exactly what you want. There is a little bit of motion, so you can tilt it forward and backwards, but sadly there's no rotation and there isn't any option to raise it or lower it in the vertical. The stand itself, very easy to go together, and included in the box you get everything you need, including the USB cable for the USB hub. This is going to be great for plugging in things like dongles for your wireless keyboard and mouse, or perhaps even something like a headset. This is a really handy little feature, and I wish more monitors would come with a USB hub as standard. As I said, the stand itself, very easy to use and actually put together. There are no tools required whatsoever, so there's no screws or anything. It all just pushes together. And to actually lock it into the back of the monitor, very easy to do. And should you wish to take it off, if you do want to take advantage of a monitor arm or a wall mount, it's very easy to remove. Again, no tools required. The back of the monitor, there is a little plastic flap, which you can just ease out with the screwdriver, and then that reveals the VESA 100 mounting points. Strangely, I think the back of the monitor actually does look quite nice. You've got a few little accents there, you've got the IIYAMA logos, etc. I think it's done a pretty good job. Realistically, you're not going to be looking at the back of it, but if you've got this maybe in an office, or you're just using it somewhere where the back is visible, it still looks quite nice. Another thing that I like, which looks really nice, is the actual screen itself. Now, this is a flat panel. Preferably for me, I do like flat panels. Curved monitors do seem to do some weird stuff with my eyes, so I do appreciate a flat panel, and especially a VA one, because you've got nice fast responses. This one has very, very low blur, if any at all. I find it very hard to notice any at all, but potentially if you've got slightly younger eyes than mine, you may notice it, but I certainly didn't. You've also got things like the black contrast adjustment, so you can get extra deeper blacks, although realistically, I think straight out of the box, this is performed very, very nicely. The only thing that I've had to do for filming purposes is to reduce the brightness. Now, the brightness is actually a very weird one, because the brightness is registered as being 250 CDM2, which I'm not sure if that directly compares with nits, but it does seem to be quite a vivid and bright panel. I've actually got this on the lowest possible rating, and it's still absolutely usable. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure where that is, but for me it seems nice, bright, clear, and the colours are very good. The quoted contrast is 4000 to 1, but there is an enhanced contrast ratio of up to 80 million to 1. Again, these specifications I've got no real way of actually measuring, but all I can say is it just looks really, really nice. When it comes to gameplay, again, going back to that 100 Hz, which I think is more than adequate, games played really nicely, buttery smooth responses, AAA titles, and even some older games, and also the eSport favourites, such as things like Fortnite, look, feel very, very nice indeed. One slight downside of this, I guess probably down to the cost, is the menu system. The menu system, as with a lot of these types of monitors these days, especially at the lower end of the market, rely on the little buttons at the bottom here, which are relatively easy to navigate. These ones are actually laid out quite clearly, and there's not a huge amount of buttons, so you don't have to do too much fumbling around to find what you need, and the menu itself is relatively easy to navigate, albeit a little bit slow and laggy. Personally, for me, I would have much rather had one of those kind of jog wheels on the back, or the little buttons that you press in to navigate. I think those are a little bit easier to use, but ultimately, once you've got the monitor set up to how you like it, it is very easy to use. Things like the actual volume, there is speakers built in, 2-watt speakers. You can just press one button and the volume comes up. Press the other one, it gives you information, so you can quickly toggle off things like AMD Freesync should you need to, and for muting or raising or lowering the volume, it's very easy and quick to do. The volume levels of the speakers that are built in isn't going to absolutely blow the place apart, and it certainly isn't something you'd use for a party, but for gaming and just for watching YouTube content, they're absolutely usable. And I'll try and give you an example of what this actually sounds like for some content I recorded a little bit earlier. So I think it sounds actually very usable. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really, you do need to try this for yourself to see what it's like, and of which I would suggest you actually do. The only thing is, again, if you do want to have slightly higher specs, but a slightly smaller screen, then maybe one of the 24-inch ones that we've reviewed previously might be preferable and are a very similar price. But I think for a 27-inch monitor with 100 Hz refresh rate and actually pretty decent power usage, I think this is definitely one to look out for. Okay, so to summarise, what do I think of the IIYAMA G-master Black Hawk G2755HSU-B1? First of all, I wish it had a shorter name. Secondly, I wish it was just slightly cheaper, just to give it that slight edge on the market over the smaller, faster panels. But I think ultimately, if you're looking for a 27-inch screen, which I actually find better than the 24s, especially if you're someone who's maybe sat a little bit further back, maybe you're a console gamer, of which you can use this with a console very easily should you want to, or if you're sat on a sofa or your bed and you just want to get a little bit further away from your monitor, I think the 27-inch does have a lot of benefits over the smaller 24s. but ultimately it's going to be down to the individual. I'll put some links for this in the video description so you can check it out for yourself and see what the pricing is like local to you. It's a very difficult one for me because literally this is the day after Cyber Monday, so we've had all the Black Friday offers and deals, so there's been a lot of competition on the market. Hopefully that settles down, and by the time you see this video, you'll see this come out, and it should be under £100, which I think, again, for a 27-inch 100Hz panel with FreeSync and all that kind of good stuff, I think it's actually worth looking at. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.